Mosasaurus. Welcome guys once again to the channel, Ranking with Dinosaurs, where today we're going to be not talking about dinosaurs basically. So, we're going to be talking about Mosasaurus, the marine reptiles most well known by being alive during the late Cretaceous. And yes, so I got this idea from one of the comments, thank you so much, you know who you are. And yeah, I was basically going to do a Cretaceous marine reptiles, like just the Cretaceous, and being a little more general with marine reptiles. However, when I was researching the Mosasaurus, yeah, there's a ton of Mosasaurs, and very different as well. And thanks for the idea for the guy that suggested it. And yeah, I mean, by researching, yeah, Mosasaurs, they got freaky, they got really weird, and they got kind of silly as well. So this is going to be the Mosasaur tier list. Going to be starting with DALLASAURUS. So we're going to be starting with DALLASAURUS, one of the oldest known mosasaurians in the phylogeny tree. And yeah, so DALLASAURUS basically was often considered a missing link between, terrestrial predecessors and, the fully aquatic mosasaurs that we know from even later in the Cretaceous. And DALLASAURUS basically was this almost amphibious looking lizard, because it is a lizard. Mosasaurs are lizards, squamates to be more precise. And it had this, I wouldn't say more like amphibious lifestyle, since it still retains some of the features of its ancestors, like a little bit of the fingered feet. They were not technically yet flippers, but they could use it in the water. But they weren't living in the water on 100%. So DALLASAURUS, I mean, what else can I say about DALLASAURUS? It is very small. It's like a meter long. So I mean, it is kind of like a little lizard, aquatic lizard that you could find today, like an iguana or something. Obviously, more of a lizard style face, like a crocodile, elongated. But yeah, I think that's it for DALLASAURUS. Nothing crazy. I'm gonna put you in C tier. PHOSPHOROSAURUS. So we're gonna be moving on to PHOSPHOROSAURUS, a halisaurian, which is a little group inside Mosasaur, Mosasauroidea. And yeah, this was a smallish mosasaur. But yeah, that's how all halisaurians are, just smaller than your typical huge-ass mosasaur. And one of its main features or attributes were it has some insanely big eyes. Now, these eyes, what it helped it with was hunt. Now, what do you need such big eyes when you're hunting underwater? In the dark. So, it would probably hunt it in, like, very deep waters, or probably nocturnal, when it was nighttime. It preferred to hunt, and yeah, probably hunted like squid or bioluminescent fish too. That would make a lot of sense, honestly, for such also a smaller mosasaur. You're not trying to tackle big things, and it's better to keep underwater, where it hunted probably in an ambush way, like ambushing this kind of prey, because it wasn't a very good swimmer, honestly. And this is a trend that I saw, is that while they're smaller, the mosasaurs are smaller, they're worse at swimming. And while they get much bigger, they just get much better at swimming, which makes, at first I was like, why? But then I'm like, yeah, if you're very small, like, previously DALLASAURUS, you don't need to swim that fast in, like, open waters. You're probably not in open waters. You'd be like easy prey. So you're staying on the, on the shoreline, or closer to where there's a lot of, coral and all of that stuff. And you don't need to swim that fast between those. But if you're huge, you're probably moving in the open sea, and, the size helps, but you're just in the sea. So you need to move fast in the vast ocean. So I'm going to say PHOSPHOROSAURUS. I actually like it a lot. It's pretty different from other mosasaurs. So I'm going to put it on A. I might be dropping down to B, but I like A for now. TYLOSAURUS. I'm going to be moving on to TYLOSAURUS, one of the biggest Mosasaurus, period. Now this is a big ass animal from that lived during the Maastrichtian, I believe. Was it Maastrichtian? Yes. Not only Maastrichtian, a little earlier, but yeah, it's been found in North America, Europe, Africa. So that just tells you that mosasaurs were like worldwide. These were the apex predators. Now, TYLOSAURUS is pretty rad. It had an elongated body, very streamlined, good at swimming. Again, as I told you, everything just gets bigger. Like, if you give it enough time to evolve, things would just get insanely huge in size. So I'm going to show you right here, TYLOSAURUS. You can see right here the elongated body. You got 2 flippers in front, 2 in the back, much smaller. The tail ends in this 2-lobed fin. So you got this small one right here. This one doesn't have any bone. And probably the vertebrae just continued all the way to the lower one right here. So TYLOSAURUS, again, huge predator. We do have some skin impressions, so it showed us that it had like almost smooth scale skin. Well, you would call it scales, my bad. But yeah, it also, one way to differentiate it from, for example, Mosasaurus, because these ones, they're gonna be starting looking a little more samey, if you ask me. So TYLOSAURUS, on the end of its maxilla, so right at the end here, actually had also a much thinner skull right there, much more elongated. But you can see here at the end there's a little knob, like this point right here doesn't have any teeth and it's a little knob. Now, what would that be used for, or could there be an explanation for that? Honestly, I don't know, but the leading explanation is that they were saying for a while that it was for ramming each other, they were like, just boop noses, which doesn't make sense, because from another mosasaur, there was a neurovascular system, like right at the tip of their snouts. So that was probably very sensitive. So it makes no sense that they would be like hitting each other over there. So TYLOSAURUS, honestly, I kind of like it. It's really good. Also, this figure helps. I mean, this is just sick. So TYLOSAURUS, do I put an S tier? I'm debating to put it in an S tier. Oh god. I'm gonna put an S tier. I'll move it later if it needs to be. PLOTOSAURUS. Now, PLOTOSAURUS is an interesting mosasaur. I thought it looked almost the same, but it kind of looked a little different when I was looking at it. And it turns out that, yes, this mosasaur from the late Maastrichtian was doing the classic meme of returning to fish. Why? Because it was not only huge, but it was actually adapting or evolving more into a form that was better at swimming. So this thing was actually really fast, first of all. And then it was much better at swimming. Why? Because it actually shows some morphology convergences. So it was actually looking more like ichthyosaurs. And if you've seen ichthyosaurs, they're like the dolphins of the Mesozoic. And PLOTOSAURUS was just going towards that. It was turning into a fish again, returning to fish. And one of the cool things is that you could see it in the skeleton. It had narrower fins. The tail fins were bigger, so it could propulse itself better. And yeah, it was a lot longer. Like, it didn't have that much mass, so it was more hydrodynamic. So I think that's actually kind of interesting and kind of cool. Again, going with the theory that bigger, better. Not only, I'm sorry, get your man out of the gutter. When I say bigger, I mean better swimmer. Moving on, PLOTOSAURUS. I think it's fine. I'm gonna put it in B tier. Oh my god, I cannot. I did not think that joke through. Prognathodon. So I'm gonna move on to Prognathodon, another mosasaur. This one, not too different from the other ones. However, this one is very worldwide as well. It's been found in Africa, New Zealand, North America, and a ton of places basically. So Prognathodon is mostly well known because, well, first of all, it has like 12 species, which is insane. But, it's a little bit controversial since they're very incomplete specimens. However, there's a couple that are very, very good, very well preserved. One in Jordan that was preserved with skin impressions and the actual outline of the tail. We found it because of Prognathodon. So thank you, Prognathodon, for giving your skin to science, and we know how you would look like in the past. But yeah, one of the main features of Prognathodon is the skull, which is massive, massive. And I'm not talking about necessarily about size, but the actual like robustness of it. It's like really, it's like heavily built, and it has some big ass teeth. But yeah, that just should give you an idea that these guys were probably munching on almost everything. Armored, not armored, big, small. They were probably generalists, honestly. Sorry. But yeah, Prognathodon. Pretty cool looking Mosasaur. And I don't know if it's my favorite. I kind of like that it has a big ass skull. And although it has some massive teeth, because there's like 12 species, they vary a lot in size actually. So there's some small Prognathodon, some big Prognathodon, but I actually kind of like it, honestly. I'm gonna put it in A tier. Yeah, I kind of like it more than PLOTOSAURUS. PLATECARPUS. Now we're gonna be moving on to another Mosasaur. This one not at the end of the Cretaceous. Interestingly, it's more towards the Santonian, so much earlier. Still late Cretaceous though. And we found out that Platecarpus, we found some skin impressions as well. Those are always appreciated on fossils. And we found the outline of the nostrils, which is interesting because we know that the nostrils on Platecarpus, to be more precise, are at the tip of the snout. And we've actually found the tail fluke as well, like the outline. And one thing I didn't mention is that we thought that mosasaurs swam more like eels, slowly, like this. But no, they were probably, because of the tail, they probably swam more like modern day sharks, I want to say. Yeah, like modern day sharks, which are really fat. If you've seen like a shark, like, yeah, they're like going slow usually. But if they want to gain speed, they zap around the water, which is really scary. But yeah, Platecarpus has smaller teeth than most mosasaurs, which suggests that it had more of a soft prey kind of diet, which are supported by the gut contents of one fossil, which had some fish, medium-sized fish, and we did some isotopic analysis on the teeth, which is honestly kind of insane that we can do that. And we found out that it occasionally could go to freshwater. Now, what they do there? Well, a lot of animals that go to freshwater usually lay their eggs there. But mosasaurs gave birth to live young. So it probably just gave birth over there. So Platecarpus, I kind of want to put it in B tier. Oh boy. I'm going to put it in B tier. I like it, but not as much as the other two. Globidens. Now we're going to move on to Globidens, which is from the Maastrichtian again. A lot of big mosasaurs were from the Maastrichtian. However, this one was more of a medium-sized. And the name means globe teeth. Now, I'm going to be real with you right now. The teeth on Globidens kind of mess with me a little bit. They are really freaky. They're really unique. They look like shiitake mushrooms, honestly, to me. But they're called globe teeth for a reason. Now, I'm going to show you right here why they're called globe teeth. And it's honestly kind of freaky. I'm not going to lie. But, there is a reason for this. They weren't just like, we got to get the freaky teeth. And, yeah, so basically, these were, if you have such big teeth, robust, lacking any kind of serration or, like, point. They had a little point. Like, they were a little raised in the middle. But they were probably more akin to hunting hard-shell prey, armored prey, turtles, ammonites, bivalves, nautilus, all those kinds of hard-shell prey. They were probably just munching on them. Like, they probably destroyed them. Because these guys had, like, robust, like, stout like short skulls. They were really heavily built, and they had a ton of those globe-like teeth, which again gives me kind of the heebie-jeebies because they're freaky looking. I don't know if you get the same like the same sentiment as me, but I don't know. It's kind of weird. I don't know. Globidens, you are pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. There's also like 6 species, so 6 different animals with those teeth are kind of weird. I'm gonna put you in A tier. Oh, I was gonna put it in S tier, but seeing the teeth kind of just puts me off. Mosasaurus. Now we've come at the end of the tier list. I'm gonna go with the namesake of the group, Mosasaurus, the most well-known marine reptile, probably. I don't know. And yes, the first most well-known marine reptile, just known to science. It was called the Great Animal of Maastricht, which, if you didn't know, and I didn't know before, Maastricht is an actual place in the Netherlands. In the Netherlands. So, you know something every day. I didn't know this. That's what the Maastrichtian is named after, I think. So, Mosasaurus, again, very well known. A lot of fossils, skin impressions, all of that good stuff. And actually, one funny thing I found out is that comparatively, its brain case compared to a Platecarpus, which is much smaller than it, had a smaller brain. Now, they basically call Mosasaurus a small brain, which, you know, it's dead, so who cares? But I just found it funny that it just called it small brain. But yeah, one thing it did have very well was excellent vision. And despite its poor smell as well, it didn't smell very well, but vision was A tier, S tier for its time. It had pterygoid teeth, which is something I didn't mention before, but pterygoid teeth are the dentition that it's in the palate right here on the top. And those, well, I was wondering what those were used for, but it makes sense. They actually helped in catching and subduing slippery prey. Like you grab something by just a tiny bit of your other teeth, your regular teeth, but then if something got caught in that part, they weren't getting away. Basically, they were screwed. But yeah, Mosasaurus, again, super important to science. We got like 5 different species. The most well-known one, Hoffmanni. One of the biggest, Mosasaurus as well. I can't remember if it's Hoffmanni. Yeah, it's Hoffmanni, definitely. It's up to like 40 feet in length, which is... These guys were the apex predators. And again, it had to fight in niche partitioning with Prognathodon and TYLOSAURUS. So it has some competition, but you know, specialize in different things probably. Mosasaurus, I mean, it's the most well-known and it's the coolest one. We actually have Mosasaur marks on each skulls, so they probably fight each other too a lot. They are really metal. I'm gonna say yes tier. So that's gonna be it for the Mosasaur tier list. It was a pretty cool one. I didn't know I rated a lot of these Mosasaurs. Some of them I knew about, but I didn't know like if they were like sufficiently different enough. But I found out a lot. I learned a lot of things, honestly. In this one, hope you learned a couple things too. This is what we're here for. Also to put them in a tier list, which is the most brain-dead thing I can do. But you know, we're all for it. We're all fried. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. Again, the video, like, subscribe. It helps a lot. If you don't know it, helps a lot. It's free too. But yeah, thank you so much. Let me know in the comments too. What was your favorite? What is your favorite Mosasaur? What would you change? What would be your own tier list? So, thank you once again. As always, thank you for watching, guys.